it's music stuff. So I have a PowerPoint that I'd like to share with you all, and then at some point I'm going to start asking people to chime in with things that are relevant. So I'm just going to ask, can everybody see this slide here? Somebody can unmute and tell me if you're seeing it.
Looks good.
Okay, perfect. Good. So, Zoom Choir, how do they do that? I thought I'd share with a little bit of humor. Most of you have probably already discovered this if you tried to sing Happy Birthday to somebody on Zoom and it just sounds like chaos, but I thought you all might find this cute to just see what happens here to this choir.
Basic. Altos. Well done, John.
Oh, sorry. Anyhow, so you see, it's like kind of chaos. You know, the director is up there conducting, and you don't you really can't. Nobody can sing together. It just doesn't work. It's because of, you know, Zoom is designed for one person to talk or do something at a time. Anyhow. So tonight, I'm going to show you all one of the virtual choir videos that I made for St. Bart's Day. I'm going to show you about the hymns that you hear and see every week. Then I'll show you the program called Audacity. This is what I use to edit the software. And then Lane will show you briefly this software called DaVinci Resolve. It's video editing software. And then I'm going to call on some choir members to just give their perspective of how they've felt doing some of these recordings. So anyway, that's what you can expect for tonight. First, I'd just like to just play a little of this. I'm going to sort of go into towards the end of it and just play a little bit of this piece. Oh. Well, I'm not sure why it stopped playing there. So, the first thing that I did to make this happen was I went to the church and just recorded myself playing the organ part. Then, the next thing I did was I came home and I took that recorded organ part, stuck it into my computer, and then sat in front of my webcam, and then I I just did this. I'll just play a second of it. So basically, this was the track that I sent to the choir, so they would know how to be in time. But I didn't end up using this video footage in the thing that that you saw on Sunday morning. Um, anyway, then after I make both of those, the audio and video, then I would send it to the choir, and so videos tend to be quite large and they don't fit into an email. So I always send them these things by a big Google Drive link like that. And if I were to click this, it would just take you to that video. And it's funny how at the beginning of the pandemic, I thought making these Google Drive links was such a pain. But now I do it 20 times a day and I don't even think about it. It's just part of what we do now. So anyway, so I send it to the choir. And then choir members will record themselves singing at home. So this is Carol, and most of the recordings people send me are audio only, but this one included video, and I thought I would share this picture for good reason because it shows quite a lot of things. So she's got the headphones on so she can listen to the organ part, and then over here she's looking at her tablet, which has the sheet music on it. And then when the video plays, sometimes you'd see her looking straight at the camera because the video with me conducting on it was on her screen that she's looking at here. So, and then I'm not exactly sure, but one of these devices, either her tablet or a computer or something else, was actually recording her voice. So there's kind of a lot going on to balance, but that's the process that the choir members will follow, and then they'll send me their things. So, I'll end up with a Google Drive. This was for a hymn, but, just with various people from the choir and their recordings, and then I'll take those, and I'll take the audio, and then I'll go into this program called Audacity, and I'll just put everybody in. So here, for example, this was Barbara, this was Kathy, and Dan, and Gavin, and basically each person will have their own line in here, and then I'm going to open up something in this program and I'll be able to scroll around and show you what it does, but this is kind of what it looks like when I get all the people in there. And then the seventh step is to choose what you see on the screen. There can be videos of people singing, there can be pictures of people, pictures of the nave, there can be like the text of a hymn, I can put the sheet music up there, or I can just put no visual and just have the sound, and then maybe we could look at the altar or something like that. There's so many different things that we could do, but I just thought I'd show you some things. So on that video I played, I chose to put the text of what they were singing with a picture of the altar, and I thought the flowers were really nice that day, so I was like, okay, let's use them a lot. And here's another for that same piece. And then this was on St. Bart's Day where we do all the sunflowers, so I just found some pictures of some sunflowers, used those. Now the hymns on Sunday morning, it was my choice to put the sheet music on the screen. And I've seen other churches just have like a camera looking at the back of the organist's head or seeing the organist's fingers play the hymns. And I don't know, I just didn't want to be filmed all the time doing that. So I audio record myself, and then I'm like, no, let's put the music on the screen. I think that's more useful for people than just looking at the back of my head. So that's why I've decided to show you all sheet music on the hymns, but it could be anything else to see, but I think this is probably the best thing to do. And this is another virtual choir thing that we did, and I decided this one was for Pentecost, so I found this little visual, I put the sheet music on the screen. This was one of the first things that we had done as a virtual choir, so I put a little, bit over here explaining what it was. So this is, I think a good way to use the screen. And then sometimes, for example, I made this slide. This was a women's verse to that video, and here was a children's verse, and here was basically everybody that had sent me a picture for Pentecost. And then here's another thing that I want to show you. This is the first of its kind that we've done at St. Bart's. This was for the compline, and I'll just play and let you see what we have here. Keep my So anyway, you'll notice here how we have some people are in video, and then other people are just in photograph. And so basically, as a church musician, I can't really demand of people to, okay, you have to send me a video and it has to be of this specification and you have to, do this and that and the other. I mean, I can try with deadlines and whatnot, but I mean, with everybody being volunteers and with the pandemic and all of this being just so outside of the normal, I don't want to be so strict or whatever, so I take what people give me and use it. And this video actually, Lane, one of our choral scholars, has put together, and a little bit later I'm going to ask him to talk more specifically about it. But anyway, so this is one of the projects that we did where we combined video of people that sent us video and then just pictures of people who didn't send video. So I think that turned out really nicely. And then I also, before I invite some others to talk, I just want to talk about the hymns and how I go about making the hymns each week. So first of all, in choosing the hymns, it's a little bit different than usual in that I have digital copyrights to worry about. So in usual times, I have a book that just says, okay, on this Sunday of the church year, here are the readings, and here are the hymns that go with these specific readings and the season you're in. And so there's, usually 20 or 30 hymns to choose from, and I'll, try and pick the ones that I think are the best or most appropriate. Now, in COVID tide, this is a screenshot of the website I used to get the music that I put on the screen. So for example, I was planning Advent, and I thought, oh, soon and very soon, I like that hymn. It's fun, and it comes in the Leave Us hymnal. Well, I look, no downloads available. And so I could, take the hymnal to the copy machine and scan it and put it in there. However, the reason why there's no downloads available is probably because it doesn't have a digital copyright. So I just think, okay, well, we'll do this hymn, when we're in the church again, and I don't have to worry about that. So for example, that's one that happened. Another one, a hymn that I really love, Praise to the Lord. Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation. I think I tried to plan that one, twice, maybe in May and another time in August or something. Well, if you look here, there's the music is not available for some reason. Another one that's really lovely, All My Hope is on God is Founded. I actually recorded this with some of the singers early on in the pandemic, and then come to find out, can't use it. So that's a little bit sad, but oh well. And then just the way that I've been recording the hymns lately is, this is my husband Anson. He and I will just come into the church at night when nobody else is there, because right now we're not, according to the diocese, we're not allowed to sing in the church when anybody else is around. So we just go in there when we know no one else is there, and we set up the little recording device right here, and we record the hymns, and then Back early in the pandemic, when we were still allowed to have very small groups come to the church and record. I had the choral scholars and a few other people had come to do some recordings, but lately that hasn't been allowed. So lately it's just been Anson and I recording them in person. And then, similar to the virtual choir videos, I'll ask for people to I'll send those recordings to the choir members, and then they'll send me their individual things back, and then either myself or the choral scholars will then enter everybody in and put them together and make it sound nice. And then I get to make the PowerPoints for the screen. So when I go to that website that has the hymns in it, this is what I'll find, and you'll notice it doesn't really fit the screen that well. So I'll show you here, this is what it would look like. You know, I've taken this and I've made it sort of the right shape for a PowerPoint slide, and you'll notice I've only got 2 verses here as opposed to 4 here. Basically, I just took these verses and I hid them basically and just sort of squished everything together, and then I made another slide that had verse 3 and 4 on it. So there's things like that that are tedious, but they're not terribly difficult that I do with all the hymns. And then another thing people have asked me is, how do I time the slides, like when it's time to, you know, go from this to turn the page to the next one. Basically, I just listen to the recording and I count I watch a stopwatch and I see, okay, the first slide with the intro, and then you go from this part of the hymn, and then when it gets to like sort of halfway through that note, I press pause, and then I count the timer, and it says, okay, 27.8 seconds. So I type that in here, and then I just go to the next one and go to the next one. You'll see they all have little numbers. This is the count of seconds on there. And I just sort of go throughout the hymn and I type those in, and then I come here and I press play, and then it has the singing, and it moves along, and if anything's a little not quite right, then I can just go back in and edit the timing as necessary. So anyway, those are all the things that I thought could be helpful to show you like that. Before I go into a little bit more detail and ask some others to chime in, does anyone have any questions or comments so far? Richard.
When we send, I have not yet sent you a video or recording.
Right.
And the only platform with which I'm familiar is Loom, and I'm not sure if that will work. However, how do most of the choir members send you their videos? What's the platform they use?
Right. So one of those slides on there, actually, I'll share this little detail so you can see it. Let me just share the screen.
One of them showed headphones and then another icon for something.
Right, exactly. So if you look here, for example, this icon, it's something M for A. I don't know. It's just an audio type. This one is MP3. This one is a movie. And then I've had other ones as well. And the funny thing is once you put them into this sound editing software, it doesn't make any difference. So basically anything that has an audio, like any type of thing that has an audio extension to the file will work.
Each of these icons, do those represent a platform that you have to download an app for?
For most people, I think most people are using their phone to record them, and
Okay.
each phone will have like a standard application that does it. And so, you know, people just send me whatever they send me, and I think they don't even think about what it is. But yeah, anything audio will work. I haven't found one that doesn't work yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure. Good.
Do we use those, one of those programs that you showed, use that for recording?
Well, what you would do is you'd go into your phone or your computer and find whatever it has set up as the audio recording standard thing in your computer and use that. And then you wouldn't really have to worry about, is it an MP3 or is it a
Yeah.
M4A or whatever the different categories it are. You just don't really even think about that.
Do we have to move that file over into one of these transfer programs in order to send
Yeah,
it?
that's a good question. So if you're sending me a hymn where it's just audio, usually people can just email me that, and usually one at a time, and that will go through in an email.
Yeah.
But for example, if you're ever doing something that has video in it, it will be a very large file, and then you'd have to do something like make me a Google Drive link or a Dropbox or the program that Richard was talking about, Loom. The good thing about it is it sends people a link, so then they don't have to worry about how to send it to people. But yeah, any of those things can work. Right, Virginia.
We have a question in the chat. Interested in getting some clarification about singing in the church when no one else is there.
Okay. You can't sing in the church when no one else is around. Yes. So because of COVID, our diocese has put out rules over what we can and cannot do on church property. And because singing is one of those things that's potentially spreads the virus, right now we're not allowed to sing together in the church. So that's why I go there when I know that no one else is around if I have to do some singing. We are allowed, if we're outside, like if we're having parking lot church, we're allowed to have 2 singers, and they can have a microphone, but they have to be far away from everybody else. So right now, I mean, and that is fairly restrictive as it is. So I think the most successful thing that we're doing that includes singing right now is just everybody sing from home and send me a recording. Good. Any other questions? Let me scroll onto the next page and see. David, yes.
Yeah, not a question. I have one later, but
Sure.
I just wanted to make the comment that when you were talking about what to decide to show on the screen during the congregational hymns, I think it's really nice to see the music and the text there, because and I'm sure a lot of other people like to sing at home during church.
Right, exactly.
But nice, thank you.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I know on the first couple Sundays, I was still trying to figure out, well, how do I do this? Because I don't have a printer at home, so I wasn't printing the bulletin. And so then I'd take the one laptop to sort of share from, and then I'd have the other one to look at the bulletin. And so, yeah, I remember thinking, well, I bet a lot of people just would find it helpful to see the music on the screen. But then I know that some of you probably print the bulletin out or have other ways of doing it. But I just didn't really think it would be all that useful for you guys to just, look at the back of my head at the organ or something. I thought, I mean, maybe, but I don't know. That's not my style. Good. Anything else? Okay.
To sing like together.
Sure. So actually, that's a good segue to this next computer program that I want to show you all that makes it sound like we're singing together. Let me open that program and then share my screen. So this program is called Audacity. It's free and open source software. Okay, share screen. So it looks like this inside. It kind of looks a little bit medical, like I think it looks like the heartbeat monitor at the hospital or something. But anyway, what you can do is I've already, this is something that I was working on for Compline this past week. It was one of our hymns there. And so, for example, this first line is this was the piano track, and I'm just gonna go in, and you can see how the lines here for this much of it are very angular, and then if you look over here, they're a little bit different looking. I'll just explain why that is because this was my piano introduction, and so you see each little tick here is quite percussive, and so that was the piano, and then the singing came in right here. So for example, when I take somebody, like here's Susan, when I take a voice in, I have to put them like this or like this um, to make it sound like it's together. So for example, I look at it and I get it, you know, lined up as close as I can to where like I know that right here is the start of the singing. So then I look and see, okay, she's close, but not quite. So then I've got to choose this thing again and just move over kind of like that. And then, you know, here's the next singer. Okay, I've got to move that one there and move this one here. And then just sort of see, okay, well, let's see how that goes. So then I would do a test with the piano and these three voices and see, okay, well, what does it sound like? So I'd sort of start at the end of the introduction here.
We praise you, Father, for your gift of dusk and night all over earth.
Good. So you all can hear it's lined up mostly, but not perfectly together. So what I would have to do is just spend a bit of tedious time just, you know, going basically just going like this and like that, back and forth ever so slightly to just get it just right. And that always just takes a little bit of time. Now the other thing that's kind of interesting in here is I'll show you, you'll see that some, like for example, I'm going to show you this line as opposed to this line. The blue in this line is a lot bigger, and in this line is a lot smaller. And different recording devices have different ways of doing it. So for example, this person either was a lot closer to the recording device than this person, or just their device makes things louder or softer. So what I would go in there, I would go into the settings, for example, here, I would select this voice, and then I would go to Effect, Amplify, and then I would go up maybe amplify by about 8, and then you notice that now this person is a little bit bigger and is going to be similar, more similar in volume to this person. And this person, if you compare to this one and this one who now look like they're about similar in volume, then I might go to this person and select and do a similar thing. And see how there's a minus there. I would just make them a little quieter. And then now they're kind of a similar shape of wavelength. And so I do that to sort of make people sound together in the right blend or balance. And then I'm gonna show you certain things you start to be able to see on the beginning of a recording. For example, this one here has something at the very beginning of the recording, and I'm like, well, I know that's just a mistake. You know, that might have just been, like, I can just tell by looking at it that it's not singing, so I can just delete that, because, you know. And another thing I can do is I can see, for example, I'm going to zoom into right here. This is in the middle of a phrase. I can see, sometimes you can see people's breath on the track, and so I can just go there and delete or something like that. For example, this right here, let's see, I can see that this is a breath, and so because it doesn't have the same wavelength as singing, and it's sort of in between two phrases, so if I can see a breath, it means that it might be too loud, so I can just go and delete it. Or sometimes sometimes you actually do want to hear people breathing a little bit, and so I might just choose to leave it, and I could turn the volume down on it, or leave it, or whatever. And then another thing that I can do is, let's say that this person right here, let's say that, you know, this was a mistake. Like, let's say they sang the wrong word or the wrong note or something. I could just go here, take that, and then just delete it. And it was, okay, so there's their mistake. It's gone. And then I take whatever the last thing that they were singing that was good, and then there's this effect called fade out. And so sometimes I press it about 2 times or so, and then you just sort of hear them singing, and just the same way that you would if you're singing in a normal choir, and let's say you need to breathe or cough or take a breath or a break or something, you would just sort of fade yourself out, stop singing for a moment, you know, let the other singers around you keep singing, and then join back in when you can. Then it's funny, you think you might hear the whole of here with nothing happening, but with, you know, several other singers singing, you actually don't hear that much. So this is how, you know, this kind of deleting thing is, you know, sometimes people just sing the wrong note, or they sing the wrong word, or something funny happens and it doesn't blend with the rest. So I'll just, you know, figure out what was weird, highlight it, and delete it. And then there's all sorts of funny things you can do in the effect. Like, let's say somebody was singing the wrong note. If I really wanted to, I could change the note. Usually I find it easier to just delete that and let, you know, let other people sing it, but I could change somebody's pitch. I can change the speed, and sometimes after I record myself playing the organ, I will decide once I can hear it and I'm not playing. Sometimes I will choose to make it slower or faster. Not usually, but sometimes. This one, noise reduction. Sometimes people are recording and there might be some background noise, like a noisy air conditioner or something. This can be helpful in getting rid of background noise, but it doesn't always work. And then reverb, I'll just show you what it looks like here. There's all these different controls, like room size or delay or various things that I don't know exactly what they all mean, but if you play with these, you might sound like you're singing in a big cave, or you might sound like you're, you know, right in front of somebody singing in their ear. And so usually when we're in the church, it's quite a big room and it gives it a nice acoustic. And so because we're all recording, like, you know, 3 feet, you know, with the cell phone just right in front of our face, and it's very close up, it doesn't really sound right. So I'll go in and add a little bit of reverb to make it sound like we're singing in a bigger room like the church. Yeah, so anyway, you see there's tons of different effects that can be.
Yeah, I like that one down there that says wah wah.
Right, and you know, Carrie, I don't even know what this one
We'd
is.
like to hear that.
Well, okay, let's see what it does. I will choose, let's see. I'll choose everybody here. Yeah, I've never done that effect, so I don't know what it's gonna do, but let's just say apply. And then see what I'll back up before it. So this is kind of more normal, and then we'll hear it at that point. Oh, you know what? People aren't lined up yet, so it's just gonna sound like a mess. Let me. I'll show you. I'll show you else, another version of this that I had that was like the finished version of it.
That was the Pentecost version you had a minute ago.
Right, exactly. So this is the version of the same hymn once I'd kind of lined everybody up perfectly. So you'll notice that, you know, for example, everybody starts at the same time, and then the breaths in between the phrases line up. And then I'll just play what it sounds like all together, so you can sort of hear.
We praise you, Father, for your gift of dust dusk and night fall over us.
All right, so let's choose this wah-wah effect and see what it does. Like I said, I don't know, but it's, I mean, oh, it's sometimes fun to, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna do it to this one. This is the version of it where I've mixed everybody together and added some reverb. So let's go in and add some wah-wah. Okay, now we'll press play.
That's great. We should use that.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds
Alright,
like they're underwater.
I like that, but let's go ahead and undo that. But yeah, that's interesting. I'll
Just
have
like
to,
the wah-wah pedal on the guitar.
right, exactly.
Stephen,
Yes, let me
Richard,
put some
Richard
questions here. Richard, yes.
would you indulge me for a moment? And we've seen we've heard what it sounds like when you have lined all those lines up correctly. Would you stagger 2 or 3 voices and let us hear what it sounds like when you play it that way?
Yes, I will, and that's the that's often what I'm hearing when I'm working on things, and then it will
Right.
kind of drive me nuts trying to figure out, okay, who's not lined up quite right. And I'll just show you here. For example, if you see, I've got all these voices lined up, but you'll see they don't actually look like they start at the same time, which is kind of the confusing part of it that took me a while to understand. Like, basically, I don't trust like the opening starting time as knowing what it's how to line them up perfectly. But yes, so I'll take this voice and move it over a little bit, and then I'll take that one and move it this way, and this one, and okay, this is a bass. I'll make him kind of behind, because you know that's kind of typical. All right, now. All right, so now listen to this. So it'll kind of just be like just not quite right.
We praise you, Father, for your gift of dusk and night fall over us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to speed them up or slow them down. Yeah.
Right, I know, and so it's funny that the way that just sounded when I'm in the editing process, that's what it sounds like to me for a lot of the time until I get everything put just right.
Of course, you could just really adjust everything and make a canon out of it.
Well, you know, and I did that for one of those, for Pentecost, the Come and Pray in Us. I just asked everybody to sing it twice, and then I turned you into a canon. And then, you know, we had the people singing the different languages and whatnot as well. Does anyone have any questions more about this specific program?
Well, I'd just like to know the little sound graphs. Can you turn the sound graphs the other way and kind of use them as a Rorschach test?
Maybe somebody's smarter than me.
Say something about the person's personality, you know.
There is a setting in there to turn it just completely backwards, like the whole file.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of rotate it 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's like
Rorschach plots.
yeah, I heard that, you know, sometimes you can take somebody saying something and turn it backwards and turn the volume low and then play it in a movie, and then it's like a bad subliminal message. I mean, you can probably do that, but I don't know how, so I'm not going to do that.
You get your girl back, you get your truck back.
Exactly. Yes.
Blah,
exactly.
blah, blah.
Good. All right. Any other questions on this? Now, so the hymns lately, the choral scholars have been helping me edit. So they've been doing a fair bit of the editing in either this Audacity program that I showed you, or Chris uses a different program actually. So I think it might be interesting to hear from Chris on what is that like. Is he there, Morgan? I see your face. I don't.
Yep, I'm right
Okay.
here.
Oh, hi, Chris. Hello.
I'm
Tell
gonna
us
go
about your
ahead.
program.
So what I use is a program called Logic, and it's
Okay.
pretty much the same sort of deal as Audacity, except it's just what I got accustomed to when I was editing and recording things in college.
Okay.
And so it's the same sort of deal where like you go through and you just drag people back and forth until they line up just right. And you
Mhm.
can see it's the same sort of like, you can see everybody's little waveform.
Yeah.
And like, this is the waveform that I start out with. That's the track that Stephen sends to everybody. And so like I can go through, drag people back and forth. I also, when I'm finally trying to line everybody up, will, or like do the final mix when everyone's lined up, I'm able to bring up this little
Okay.
level meter so I can see like while it's playing. So just like that's playing right
Oh, that's
there.
really nice. That's a good function.
So I can see everybody's levels and I can sort of aim to make everybody line up the same way.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Which it doesn't like doing when I'm on Zoom calls. I also have a like per each track, I'll go ahead and I've got a different what's the word, reverb that I use for everybody. And so I a lot of the times do a mixture of like the what is referred to as the dry signal and the wet signal. And so wet signal is the like stuff that's been affected by reverb, but you also, I allowed the dry signal in too, which is just the original audio that I received from people.
Right.
So I'm able to get a sort of more natural sounding reverb through there. I also have the same sort of deal where if someone's not quite like has like a slight issue, but I can fade them in, I can just like drag from the edge using one of my tools and get them to just fade in sort of softly.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah.
So it's all sort of the same sort of deal. It's just slightly different layout that I got more comfortable with when I was using it previously. So like I started one of the first projects in Audacity and I was like, I don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and just switched on over because I already had the license for this one.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. Yeah. I hadn't seen this before either, everybody. So that's interesting to me.
It's basically just grown up GarageBand.
Yeah. Now the video editing software, DaVinci Resolve, it looks somewhat like this inside. Actually, Chris, I'm going to ask you to unshare your screen. And now,
Yep.
Lane, can you share yours and talk a little bit about the video editing that you did for If You Love Me?
Yeah. So the file that I had this for, I don't have anymore. So I can't actually show the file.
Okay,
Yeah.
no,
And I
that's
don't
fine.
even know what happened to it. I think it was corrupted because it shows up for me and then it says like that it can't be found. And I tried to locate it, but it's not working out. So this is what the program looks like when you first open it up. It's called DaVinci Resolve. And Stephen actually sent me like a link to that. What is the name of that, Stephen? Church resources
Oh,
for
the practical resources for churches or something.
Yeah. They had a bunch of helpful videos. And so I learned from a guy talking on Zoom just like we are right now. Like I watched an archived Zoom video of a guy showing his screen like this and doing like everything step by step. So you can import files here. import media, and like here's 2 videos. There's Kathy and Susan, and we can import them. And I don't know what this means, but the man that I watched was just like, just click
Yeah,
change.
just click it. I don't
Like,
know what it means either, but you just have to do it.
and I'm very novice with this program, but just from watching tutorials, I was able to make the video that we saw earlier of If You Love Me. And it's been a couple weeks since I did that, so I mean, I need a refresher to be honest.
Well, it's okay.
Yeah, everything
Actually,
lines up here in this little section with these little bars, and it ends up looking like that when you have everything in there. Like,
right.
like
Now, the thing that I found, I'll just tell everybody, the thing that I found very difficult to do, but Lane figured out, was how to line up all the squares geometrically in the screen to where you see them looking kind of like we are on the Zoom call, where we're, in the Brady Bunch squares lined up next to each other. You'd think you can just sort of stick them in there and they would do that, but they don't. Like you have to do a lot of planning to get it to happen. So anyway.
yeah. I'm trying to see if I can remember how to get to that point. I'm really sorry because I expected to be able to just open the file for this tonight, and then when I tried to just before this Zoom call, it was not there and I couldn't find it.
It's all right. Don't worry.
But yeah,
Actually,
I learned it just from watching tutorials, and if anyone wanted to learn, I could help like one-on-one probably more easily than showing here, but it wasn't too difficult. It was pretty user-friendly.
yeah, that's good. Well, now, why don't I see if we have any questions for either Lane or Chris, and then I'm going to ask some more people to comment. Let's see. I suppose not. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do tonight is I just wanted some people in the choir to talk about their experience making these recordings and how it feels compared to normal recording. And then I also want to remind everybody of there was a solo that Morgan had done in the cabaret on the couch. And Morgan, I'm going to get you to talk about that. And I will actually, why don't we start with this first? And I will just say it was the weirdest experience for me accompanying a singer, because usually when you're accompanying a singer doing an opera aria, it's all about the singer doing their diva kind of stuff, and the pianist just follows that. But how we had to do it was I recorded it first, and then, Morgan would listen to it and be like, okay, that's good, except, make this part slower or faster or whatever. And then so we finally got it to where it was good, and then she had to sing with the piano track. And so I'm imagining that was a little bit constraining. But Morgan, I'd be curious to hear, what did you think of that?
Sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself. Apparently I don't know how to operate a phone type that I've had for like 10 years.
You're good.
The constraints of that, like, it's something that you sort of get used to when you're working on doing a voice degree. You don't always have access to like live pianists. What I thought was really refreshing about it was being able to like talk to you about what I specifically needed. Generally with recordings, you don't get to decide with your pianist where your breath is going to be, and that's a huge
Okay.
part of like figuring these things out. I will say we did do a lot of fixing it in post. If I took a little longer than I had time for, like what would happen is it took my phone, Chris's phone, and our computer to make this happen. And whenever it came to a part that was an ad-lib a cappella section, we would pause your recording. I would just do what I needed to do while still recording on one of our phones. And then Chris would like give me a thumbs up when he was to hit play again, and then we'd move on. I think with a different aria, it wouldn't have had to been that complicated.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't think it would have been as funny either. As far as, it was as close to as normal as we can get right now. And that's overall a positive experience, but like anytime you record yourself, it can be super frustrating. Just because you start hearing all of the things you're doing wrong, whereas when you're singing live for an audience, you don't think about that stuff as much. Like, of course you think about it, but you can't focus on it because you're still going and they're still watching you. Whereas I know I definitely stopped a lot and were like, that's not how I wanted to say this one note that no one's going to notice but me.
Right.
So it's a really great practice to do because we do, like, singers spend a lot of time recording themselves in this type of environment.
Right.
I still had fun with it though. Like it was fun to get to work through something not in front of a live audience. So I think ultimately it did end up with a better result.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you. And now I'd like to hear from various choir members, and I'd like you to talk about different aspects of making these recordings. For example, there's kind of a technological hurdle to get over at first, you know, learning how to do it. And then there's also the fear of singing alone. You know, when we sing together, it's easy, but singing alone, it's kind of scary. And then there might be some other aspects to it that you might think are, you know, interesting or might want to bring up. So is there anybody that would like to go first and just share? Barbara, and then Neva.
Okay, so I'm not, my fear of singing alone is way less than my fear of technology.
Yeah.
And I was just completely not gonna do this. And yet my loyalty to Stephen and to the church overcame that somehow. And I mean, Jim and I are so into a routine now. I mean, we like, all right, it's time to record the hymns, you know, and we have the laptop and the headphones and our phones, and it's become really enjoyable, I have to say. One of the things I love the most is singing with Anson.
Oh, good.
And but it's really not as scary as I thought it would be. And the other thing is, you know, compared to singing, and I don't care how hard it is to sing in person in a choir and get a really difficult piece, you know, as good as you can get it. What you guys are doing with this seems 10 million times harder to me. And I'm completely in awe of what you're doing. I mean, what our part is easy compared to, you know, our part takes an hour a week, you know? So I would just throw up my hands and go get a job at McDonald's. You know, I'm just very grateful to all of you that are making this happen.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we actually use different programs. Barbara uses Voice Memo, and something, it was on Samsung, it's called Voice Recorder. And so
okay.
We send those to Stephen, so they're two different programs, and I mean, I don't know if one's better than the other from his point of view, but so, you know, you can find several programs on your phone to do it. One thing I learned during one of these, I don't know, it was some Zoom session, is to pull one of the headphones off of your ear and sing, because it just makes it easier, and it makes your own voice sound better. You know, because it sounds, I can hear myself singing like out of tune when I have both headphones on. For some reason, when I pull one off, I'm not sure what happens, but it's. And,
well, basically, you're able to hear yourself with the other people and blend with it.
Right.
And I noticed that too. The first recording I made with both headphones on, it was really bad, and I was kind of like, what's happening? And then I heard that trick and I tried it, and it was a lot better. So yeah, for everybody, if you want a trick, listen in one ear and listen to yourself in the other, and it's helpful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Barbara. And
Yeah.
thank you, Jim.
But occasionally you can hear some of the other stuff, coming from the recording.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure what that's about.
It doesn't work for me. I tried it, and you said, I can hear the, I had to do it over. So.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Neva, what were you going to share?
I was going to say that when you're singing in person with the choir takes on an organic whole, so that you begin to learn to breathe together, to phrase together, to sing loud and soft together, to match your tones as far as the color that you're singing. And when you're doing it just you don't have those cues to make it a whole. And that's why Stephen and Chris and Lane have to work so hard to make it sound like a choir, because when we're singing alone, it isn't.
Right.
And we are trying so hard to listen to what isn't there. So the choir as a whole is a completely different animal from the choir, this member, this member, this member, this member. And we miss that camaraderie that comes in singing together.
Definitely. Good. I saw David's hand before, and then Richard, I see yours next. So David. Oh, David, you're still muted. There you go.
I was press the bar and it didn't work. Anyway, I was going to say that the first couple of times I tried recording, it was just very uncomfortable. And I would listen to the tape, I would listen to the recording after doing it, and then want to do it again 3 or 4 times. And by then I was tired and it was getting worse every time. So what I decided to do was just put the earphones on and turn the volume up on your playing, or you're playing with Anson singing, as loudly as it would go, so that I couldn't even hear myself.
Okay.
And then I just would not, at that point, decided to not listen to it after I did it. I would just send it on.
Okay. I mean, that works. Whatever works.
Well,
if
it's just atrocious when you get it, please feel free not to use it.
Right, that's what I do. Sometimes I'll get a track from somebody that's just not that good, and then I won't use it, and that's okay. But I mean, I would much rather get the tracks, send them to me. So David, that's good. Richard.
Yeah, Neva and David both touched on what I wanted to say too, that when I sing by myself, especially if I'm singing with someone through the earphone, my voice, I'm not a solo voice. I love hearing Anson, and usually I can blend well with people around me in real life. That's what Neva was talking about, the quality of the choir gathering. And so it's kind of disheartening. Another aspect though that I wanted to point out was when I played the guitar, the platform I use, and you can use this happens, I guess, on others, I get to do over as many times as I need to. And it's wonderful. But the problem is, ultimately, I have to perform as flawlessly as I can while I'm playing. Because if I screw up 3/4 of the way through, I don't know how to technologically correct that.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because there's not a pause in the phrasing that would allow you and your program, Stephen, to correct something.
I think if it was just audio only, it's easy to do that. But when you involve video, it's really obvious.
Now that's a thought.
Yeah. So for example, when I go record the hymns with Anson, often I'll make a mistake, or he will, or something, and we'll just stop. And then we just leave the recorder running for the, let's say that whatever hymn we're working on, we'll just put the recorder on. And then yeah, if we make a mistake, we'll just stop and then start that verse again. And then when I put it in my program, I can just delete all the time that's the mistake and put,
Right.
put verse 1 and put verse 2 next to it, and then you never even know.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I do that often, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Anybody else?
Well,
Stephanie?
that was one of the things I feel like I try to do when I'm singing is to be the one take wonder. Doing the whole thing in one take. And there are times when you nail it and you go, this is so great, and then the cat meows behind you.
Yes.
Completely blows it. But that's been one of the greatest challenges. I mean, I'll put the earpiece off and do the take, and then I'll listen to it. And I like to edit before I send them to Stephen, so he sometimes gets mines with breaths faded in or gaps silenced, because I like doing that. But it still is very difficult to do it all in one take, and usually, as I've said, it's 4 to 6 takes to get one that I'm happy with, or at least reasonably happy with.
Yeah, well, that's good. Carrie, I see you have a question. Or...
How do y'all do choir practice? I see it listed as an activity.
Right. So what we do is I ask everybody to mute themselves. Actually, I'll ask you all to do it right now. If everyone would just mute yourselves, and I'm not at my keyboard, but if I was, I would just go I would tell everybody, okay, we're gonna sing la 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 la, and then I just remind everybody to sit up straight, and then I just go through it, and so all everyone would be hearing is me. But then they'd be singing along at home. So la 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 la, and so on and so forth. And sometimes I'll tell people, pick your favorite vowel or pick your favorite syllable to sing on, because they don't have to blend with each other. So that's actually kind of an interesting thing that we found. If I'm just playing the piano, people at home can sing whatever syllable or vowel makes their voice feel the best. So that's kind of nice. And then we go through the hymns, where either I'll play them live, or if I've already made the video, I'll play that. And again, people just keep themselves muted, and we'll go over that. And then any of the pieces that we have going upcoming, I'll play a recording that I've found online that I like. Maybe I'll even play 2 recordings and ask people to talk about what they like or didn't like, and then I'll pause and say, does anyone want me to play your part or whatever, and so then I'll do that. So I'd say we can do about 30% of what you would usually do in a real choir rehearsal. And then we spend a lot more time, probably about half an hour of every rehearsal is just going around the room, seeing how is everybody doing this week, which I think in the in-person rehearsals, I think that kind of happened like in the parking lot before and after rehearsal. And now, and you'd have maybe 5 minutes of it in the middle of rehearsal, but now we do more of it in the real context of rehearsal, which is nice. But it's just there's different things that you can do online, and you can't do other things. So it's just, we found a different way of being. And I think people really need the socializing aspect more now than we did before. So yeah, that's a good question of what is choir rehearsal on Zoom. It took me a while to figure out what should it be or what can it be. Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments or? No?
I just want to say, if anyone is wanting to make a recording and is unsure about it, I would love to meet with you via Zoom and talk you through it personally. Anyone feeling unsure about it, but you really want to, but just haven't, like Barbara was saying, really nervous to at first, you can do it, and we can definitely walk you through how to do it.
Thank you, Elaine. Angela,
Angela.
yes. Hello.
Stephen, I just want to thank you for being adaptable. I know that you've come a long way. I too remember the early days,
Right.
and you were just really, really, we have to do this. But you've come a long way. So I want to thank you for all the effort you put into this, and for the choral scholars and the choir members. It just goes to show COVID-19 cannot stop music at St. Bart's.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you for all you're doing. So we have wonderful worship experiences on Sunday, and with compline, it's just wonderful. So keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot. Good. Yeah, and I will say it's nice to come to adult formation. Usually choir and adult formation are the same time, so we're on our separate Zoom meetings, but I think it's nice to be here all together tonight.
Yeah.
Good. Well, I think that's basically all I have to oh, actually, I'll show you all while I have you all here. I'll share my screen and show some pictures. So St. Bart's, we have some bells, and so you can see we've been meeting outside with our masks and standing far apart, and we've been ringing the handbells. You can see this is what they look like here. They're gold, and then you wear fancy little white gloves that go with them, and then so we've had I'd say maybe 4 rehearsals or so doing this, and the last one we had, it started to rain halfway through, and we actually had to go inside, but we're only allowed to be inside for 30 minutes as a group, but luckily I think we only had like 20 minutes left of rehearsal time, so I was like, oh, actually we can go inside, so that was nice. And then of course the bells sounded much nicer in the church than they do in the parking lot. I had a feeling they did, but I wasn't sure. So anyway, that's something that's nice that's happening now too. Anyhow, it's been a joy for me to share this with you all. I mean, something Barbara said, it's similar to me too. I mean, I'm 37, but I think people that are my age and younger and even older than me are usually not afraid of technology, but I basically am. I'm in terms of dealing with technology, my age should be more than 37.
68, that's what I am.
Right, yeah. I mean, honestly, I wish Anson was here because I never would have figured out several of these programs without him figuring them out for me and then teaching me how to use them. So he's been very helpful in this process. But now that we're, what, 8 or 9 months into the pandemic, now I'm kind of, okay, I know how to do PowerPoint, I know how to do Audacity, I've done little things in DaVinci, where we have the video at the beginning of church that has the bells, and now I've put the pictures of the bell towers in there. Like, I did that. So yeah, I'm learning. It's been a good process, but I'm just thinking, yeah, I have learned a lot. We've all learned a lot, and yeah, things are going well. Stephanie, yes.
I'm just wondering, do we know when the next time we're going to get to hear the service music we recorded again?
Yes, on November 22nd, we'll have the other set of service music. We'll have the Powell, yeah, I think it's Powell, Gloria, and Sanctus. And then choir members, we're going to record a Kyrie for Advent. We haven't done it yet, but we will soon. Now, have there been any other questions or comments in the chat? I haven't really been following along, but is there anything in there I should respond to?
I think it might be interesting for people to know what's the average number of people who are sending in recordings.
Oh yeah, I'd say for each hymn, I'd say the average number of voices on each hymn is about 8 to 10. It depends every week. Like I'd say there's about 8 people that always send me a recording, or almost always, and then there's another 5 or 6 that sometimes do. And so I'd say that you know, average is about 8. Some are less, and some of the bigger projects have had more. I think when we did Ave Verum Corpus, that Mozart, and you know everybody recorded, and then some people recorded, you know, alto and soprano or something. That one I think we may have gone up to like 20 voices in there, but yeah. David.
One quick question. I noticed early on in the chat that someone was asking a question about how the hymns were chosen, and so if you could speak.
Right. So I did talk a little bit about this earlier in the call. So I have a book. It's a really nice book that it just talks about all the like for every Sunday in the church here, there's prescribed readings that every church will use. And so it lists all the hymns in our hymnal, you know, the 1982 hymnal and Lift Every Voice and Sing. And then the Episcopal Church has a couple other hymnals as well that we don't have at St. Bart's, but we could sing their hymns. And so it just lists, you know, these are the hymns that go with that. And so I look through there and I compare that to what you all have done in past years before I was there. And, you know, I try and pick some of the same ones so I know that they're familiar, and then I try and pick other ones that are, you know, different because I think they'll work well or because I think they're good hymns, and I try and get a balance of, you know, having a couple every month from Lift Every Voice and Sing, and a couple from, you know, maybe some from English composers or some from American composers or some German, or, you know, I just try and get a good balance of them. And then the thing that's different now in our online worship is that not all of the hymns in the hymnal are available to us due to copyright reasons, which is a little bit sad, but I'd say about 90% of the hymns in the book are available. It's just sometimes you know, I'm like really excited to do one and then I find out, oh, it's not available. So, oh well. Then I just think, okay, well, whenever we're back in the church, you know, next year, I'm definitely going to pick that one or something. That's, you know, that's what I think.